All right, welcome everybody to another episode of the Health Movement Podcast. I'm Derek, your host. I am a certified personal trainer and educator of over 20 years. I'm very impressed with the guest that we have on with us today. But before I introduce her, we're not doctors, so before you go changing nutrition or fitness programming or anything like that, please check with your physician. Also, you can follow us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts, as well as over on YouTube, the Health Movement Podcast on both of those. So like, follow, subscribe, comment, whatever you want to do will definitely help the algorithm and help us out a bunch. All right, now that that's all out of the way, I can finally introduce. With us today, we have an awesome guest. It is Kris Bachman, who is a running coach as well as an adventure seeker. Kris, welcome to the show.
Hey, Derek, thanks for having me.
I have a lot of questions for you, and I don't even know where to start. Going through all the things that you do. Um, it, Everybody, this is somebody who's living life right, like getting the most out of everything. And I'm like, it looks awesome. So can maybe you, have you always been like this where you're just up and going and seeking adventure, as you put?
No, and that's the funny thing. As a child, I think I always wanted to travel. I wanted to do crazy things, but was never really given the opportunity to do it. And so once I got into like my 20s, like freedom, um, I started to explore more like traveling and more athletic endeavors. I started doing some adventure racing. Um, I said I wanted to surf, so I learned how to wake surf. I was just kind of one of those people that just always says yes to things. I'm not necessarily afraid of failure per se. I will keep trying something again and again. But I don't think it was until like I was done having children and that's when life got really interesting. So I would guess maybe in the past 8 years, like life really kind of flipped a switch, and I've had these kind of crazy opportunities that I just kept saying yes to. One of my favorite quotes is, if you're offered a seat on a rocket ship, don't ask what seat, just get on. And so that is my mantra, as of like the past 8 years. And it's just been opening like one door after another. And it's amazing. It's like I kind of pinch myself sometimes, like when I talk about it out loud, like I can't believe that I've done some of these things.
I read one of your posts and it was talking about all the different places that you've run, and I'm jealous. Like, and I guess it's my own fault for not prioritizing stuff, but just the different places that you've gone, which I want to hear about. But before we get into that, can you just go into adventure racing a little bit?
Yeah, adventure racing. I mean, it was kind of like Amazing Race on a much, much smaller scale. So one of the races I did was a mix. It was a four-person team, and we were trail running. We were on mountain bikes. We were on the road. We were canoeing. We were orienteering. So that was like kind of my first taste into maybe what ultra racing would be like. It was probably about a 6 hour race. And then the second race I did was a lot more fun. It was through the city of Milwaukee, where I'm from, but it was kind of like clues that you had to find around the city, and then you had to find ways to get there. So like one of the clues was something like at the zoo, but we have like a sky glider, so you could only see it from above. And so you had to know little things about the city as well that definitely gave you an advantage in the race. But it was like, doing some kind of obstacles with grocery carts at a grocery store. Or it was like going down to the airport, but you had to know these like little things. It was racing on the beach because Milwaukee is right on Lake Michigan. So we were like literally doing a foot race in the sand. So once again, another four-person team, and it was a lot of fun.
So your four-person team, is it the same team all the time? Do you have a crew
It
that you
was, yeah, yeah, and I was the only female, so I kind of felt like I never wanted to be the weakest link on the team, so definitely always, like, stepping up my game, and, I have a picture of one of my teammates, like, vomiting, and I'm, like, patting him on the back. Like,
That's
"It's okay, we can do
fantastic.
this."
So that actually is that something that's in a lot of cities that I don't even
I
know
don't
what
know if
you
they do them anymore, but I feel like they should bring them back because they were so much fun.
it seems like a great way for people to get out and just move and be active and think a little bit too, because it sounds like it hits the mental and the physical pretty well.
Absolutely. It kind of is giving me like Barkley Marathon like vibes on a much more like lower scale if you know anything about that race. It's
I
kind
do
of
not
ins
know anything about that.
we can talk about that one.
Okay,
It's
I'm taking a
y
note for that. We'll go back to that.
but yeah, no, it's definitely a good team building exercise. And people were really into it too. So I feel like we should bring that one back.
Mm. I think something I'm in Massachusetts, so I imagine Boston, especially, I mean, they have the Freedom Trail that goes right through the city
Yes.
with a lot of the major market landmarks and everything. I think that would be a fantastic thing to do.
Totally
Um,
agree.
yeah, I don't know who to talk to about that one.
This is okay, so this is my mentality is like, well, then start your own. Like, if
That's
you wanna
true.
bring it back, do something about it,
That's
instead of trying
true.
to figure out
There's
who to
something
talk to.
actually that I saw recently called the November Project. Do they have that out there in
Mm-mm,
Wisconsin? It was started, I think it was actually started in Boston, and I heard it was all over the country and a few different other countries as well, where it's people get together at like 5 or 6 in the morning. Um, and just exercise at the park, or they run stairs, or they just do things to stay active a couple times a week. And they have one maybe 20 minutes away from me, and I keep meaning to get down there, and I don't remember it
good.
until Wednesday after it's already done. It's Wednesdays and
Yes, of
Fridays.
course.
So I want to get down there at some, it just seems like something fun with a group of people who are all probably a little bit crazy too if they're getting up and running stairs at 5 in the morning. But I don't
Right?
know, I guess those are my type of people, so that's
Exactly,
how I'd
exactly.
wanna spend my morning. Um, but that I like that, I like that. So, you also do regular running, is that true?
Yeah, so I'm a pretty competitive marathoner, at this time in my life, so I've been working at a goal that I set for myself probably about 6 years from now. I feel like a lot of people would have given up by now, but I just can't quit. And I've been trying to break 3 hours
Wow.
in the marathon, and my race in last November I was 92 seconds short.
Oh, that stings a little bit, I imagine.
It still does, it
Yeah,
still does. I honestly I didn't think I was even that close to the mark, and so, there's a lot of shoulda, coulda, wouldas at that
yeah.
point. What could I have done to pick up time? Um, but it wasn't until I was, like, in the last, I don't know, half mile where someone ran past and they're like, "Sub 3 people, like, we still have a chance." And I was like, "What?" I was in such a pain cave at that point, and I just, like, got up and I, like, took off and, I could just see the clock and I was just like, "Oh."
Oh, that's t it was November, was that New York?
It was Indy.
Indy, I gotcha. I get that's
Yeah, and so I finished and, let out a big swear word and then was happy because it was still a 4-minute PR for me. So it was still a great
oh, that's
race,
that's an incredible
definite
sign.
improvement. So yeah, it was just a matter of putting in perspective and knowing that it's one step closer to my goal. I just have to keep keep working at it. It's not
Yeah.
this chance, it's gonna be the next one or the next after that.
And
And if there's like
appreciate
one thing
the victories
that
that you have, the improvements and all that, because a 4-minute PR is that's a significant amount of time there.
it totally is. And, I just remind myself all the time that progress is not linear.
Yeah.
I've been working at this for a long time, and every race I learned something new. And so it's just a matter of putting all of those lessons together. Um, and that's the reason I got into coaching too, is just because I wanted to give back all these lessons that I've learned over a career of, 20 years plus of running. And it hasn't always been competitive marathons. I do everything. I love running so much. I mean, I will race a 5K if I have to. I don't love it, but I will do it,
Still
and push
running.
myself as hard as I possibly can. I love trail races. I feel so blessed. I have a state park, like, less than a half a mile away from my
Oh, that's
house,
nice.
so I can just hop on the trails and go forever. It is just where I find my peace. It's where I solve all my problems. It is where I go to turn off my brain if I need to.
Yeah.
And so it's been a lot of things to me over a long period of time.
So how many marathons have you done?
13.
Oh, wow. That's,
I've qualified for Boston, I think 11 times now. I've run it twice.
oh, nice.
So Boston is one of my favorite cities to visit. It hasn't always been the best race for me, but it's also like I just love the environment of the race. It is such a big deal. And
It is a big deal around here, especially after, the marathon bombings
that
and every like
oh, of
once
course.
once it started up again, there's a whole level of passion that goes along with it. So that's gotta be very special running in that one.
It really is, and I just can feel the energy in the city. Everyone is so proud of the race. They just want you there. Like,
Yeah,
everyone in Boston wants you there to run, and, I highly, highly recommend it.
that's cool. And it's not like a marathon is it's more of an accomplishment for most people where they're not the time doesn't even really matter for a lot of
Mhm.
it's just I ran a marathon, which is such a big accomplishment. I
Well, don't they say it's like 1% of the whole entire population has run a
really
marathon? Only 1%, yeah.
oh, now you're making me feel like I got to do it. Oh, and I don't love I ran track in college, so you'd think I liked
Oh
running,
my
but
yeah.
I did the hurdles, the sprints, and
Okay,
that
that's a lot different.
yeah, it is a lot different. Even like the 400 felt like an eternity. Um, but that's amazing. So when's the next one?
May 3rd.
Mate, I was gonna say there's definitely a next one planned. Where's that?
Oh, of course. The Wisconsin Marathon.
Oh, okay. That's good and close to home. How far have you traveled for one of these marathons?
Um, let's see. I have done the Antelope Island Marathon in Utah.
Oh,
It's
never heard of that.
on the largest island on the Great Salt Lake.
Oh, that's crazy.
Um, I know it was a totally wild like adventure. It happened in 2020 when a lot of races were canceled, and I had been training.
Oh,
I'm going to
yeah.
back up a little bit. I came off of a major injury that kind of changed the whole trajectory of running for me. I had a stress fracture in my sacrum, which is the bone that connects basically your spine to your hips.
Oh,
Um, and it's very rare, and it took a long time to get a diagnosis. It was a very frustrating period for me. I ran Boston, and I knew I was injured going into the race, but I didn't want to tell anyone. um,
Chris, come
I
on.
I mean, who does that?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but I was raising money for, a dear friend's, foundation, and I
Okay.
didn't wanna let her down, and I was just like, "I can get through this, I can grit through it." And I started after the race, I started to train again for a fall marathon, and I, like, knew something was majorly wrong, and I just couldn't figure it out. I saw every specialist you could think of. I went to PT, OT, you name it. I saw every
Yeah.
person, chiropractors, and I would get better and then I'd get worse and I'd get better and I'd get worse. And finally I had an MRI in October, and The report came back, it said there's nothing wrong, and then my, orthopedic doctor looked at it and was like, You have a stress fracture in your sacrum." And so that meant I had, 12 weeks off of running, or ended up being 14, which was devastating to me. Like,
Yeah.
I move almost every single day of my life, like, I have to do some kind of activity, I don't sit well, and my identity was wrapped so much up into being a runner, and so now I didn't have that anymore.
When was this
And
again? I'm sorry.
this
I
was
just
2019.
2019, okay. Oh,
Yep,
so
and
that 2020 race was huge then.
it was my comeback race,
Yeah.
in so many different ways, and so he's like, "The only thing you can do is swim," and I'm like, "Okay, I hate the pool." I can swim, I just didn't know how to swim a stroke. But I got to the gym, I had my goggles and my swim cap, and I cried my eyes out in the car for like 5 minutes. And then
Oh,
I was like, okay, you had your pity party, like, get over it and get in the pool. And that's what I did, and forced myself to learn how to swim a stroke, and then eventually I showed up at master swim classes. I did not belong there at all, um, but they were so nice to me, and they knew why I was there because I wanted to push myself. I
yeah.
didn't just wanna be bobbing around in the pool for 14 weeks, and so they helped me a lot with my technique. They became good friends. And that opened up doors in my future, which I'm sure we'll touch on. But it was after that point where I hired a running coach, and he specialized in strength training as well, and that's when I really went into strength training and made it definitely a pillar in my training. There is no excuses when it comes to if you're going to run, you're going to strength train. The two go together in my life, and they will always be that way. And
Were you
so
not strength training before? Were you just running?
I was, but, like, was I taking it as seriously as I do now? No.
No, okay.
And he pushed me hard. Like, I have never had a coach push me as hard as he did, but I loved it. Like, I'm like, "Okay," like, there were tears, there was a lot of emotion built up into that training cycle and working with him. It was such different kind of training too, nothing that I've ever experienced or ever seen a coach, train people that way. I was doing a lot of, incline work on the treadmill. I was lifting really heavy weights for me. It was really heavy. It was just a different style, but in the end, it paid off. And so fast forwarding to that race in October, COVID happens. I'm like, I'd been running that whole time. I was ready to race. Like, I'm
Yeah,
like, I have to do something. And so we found this race. It was like an in-person race. I didn't have to do it virtually.
that's
And I'm
good.
like, okay, we're going out to Antelope Island. I have no idea where this is. um, and so this island is the landscape I would describe as like running on the moon, except for there's wild bison roaming around.
Wow.
It is such a wild place. It's beautiful,
So
don't get me
you
wrong.
had bison while you were running? You could see them
Oh,
and
yeah.
everything?
Yeah, they were, like,
Wow.
right on the road, like, right next to you.
Oh, that's a big thing.
Yeah. So that was, so you couldn't have any spectators there, but there was enough of us running to support each other through the race, and that was my first marathon win. So
Oh,
it
you
came
won
back.
too. That's
Yeah.
a hell of a comeback right there, Chris.
It was. It was a big deal. I remember, not having any family there or anything, so I just pulled my camera out and started filming, like, capturing all the emotion, and I like to, like, reflect back on that exact moment of, like, how much it meant to me to be there. And I just remember, like, holding that medal, and it just meant so, so much. So yeah, that was a big pivotal moment in my training, in
That's
my
a so
not
you
training, in
did
my
the
running career.
strength training and everything leading up to that?
Yes, and I did. And
Wow.
it was a hard course. It was a lot of long hills, so there was some altitude. So yeah, that was definitely it helped me a lot.
Sorry for the interruption. If you're enjoying what you're listening to, please give a like, follow, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. But more importantly, Kris has a charity that she's working with called Team 1 Mile. If you could support that in any way, it would mean the world to us. All the information you need is in the show notes, whether you're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you happen to be. All right, right back with the show. So I imagine having a coach really push you like crazy benefited you immensely when it came to a course like that.
100%, it did.
That's awesome. That's
I would have ended up injured again if I wouldn't have had a coach.
is everything healed up now?
Yeah, I mean, there's still things that I have to deal with. I think after having 3 children, there's just some things in my hips that didn't go back together again. If you know anything,
Yep.
when you have a baby, like, you have relaxin hormone and everything in your body gets kind of moved around so that it can support your baby, and I don't
Yeah.
think mine fused back together again properly. So I still have to deal with some muscle imbalances. It's still something that, I just know how to deal with now, and it's just part of my anatomy. So I can't really change it. I just have to stay proactive.
That's wow. That's such an impressive story. Going through that, that's really awesome. Um, now the I wanted to just quickly touch on that master swim class that you said you had no part being in, but I
Yes.
think where you say everybody's it was so nice and encouraging. I think people recognize somebody who's just working hard and trying to get better as opposed to somebody who feels like they have to be the best and letting their ego get in the way. Um, and I, I try to harp on that point for everybody, and it's simple. Like going into the gym is really intimidating if you've never done it before, or trying a new. Like I went down to one of the guys we had on. Mike Agby invited me down to he's a martial arts sensei. He's got his own dojo. So he invited me to come in. I was intimidated as could be because these guys have been doing it for a decade plus. Um, but for me, it was more like I brought the camera and kind of filmed some stuff and I'm putting something together for that. But it was humbling, but everybody was so welcoming and encouraging. And it's like you're walking into somebody else's passion. And of course, they want to share it with you as much as they can. What,
Absolutely. One thing that I love to remind myself is to be humble enough to suck at something new.
yes. Yeah.
Right?
It's a good way to put it.
Like sometimes you just have to put your ego aside and like know that you're not going to be the best at everything, but give me some time to try at
Yeah.
least,
And
and
I feel
I'll
like
get
that's what
better.
keeps you young at heart too, in physically and mentally is pushing yourself with something new. If you just do what you're good at, you never learn anything new and you're kind of just stuck at that same level.
Well, and then as a teacher, to know, like, to be able to teach something is like that next level of understanding. And also I feel
Yeah.
like putting your ego aside as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And you can teach your passion. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah, yeah, that's good. So then you got into coaching running.
I did.
When did that start?
Um, gosh, it was such a slow like rollout. It was, just taking on a few friends here or there. So it's been a couple of years now. It's a slow growth. But the clients that I have such a great and special relationship with every single one of them. I feel like it hasn't grown enough where I can't have that yet. Or still, my clients can call me and there's a lot of therapy involved in some of it,
I imagine.
which I love because so much of our lives of running and our life. Let me back up. So much of running and life have these similarities and parallels, and so it's helpful to have someone that has been there and can understand, sympathize, empathize, all of those things. I feel like I've been through so many up and downs through this crazy journey, that I have at least some bit of advice to offer them. And I always remind them too that, like, we're not professional athletes. Like we're not paid to do this. Like
No, 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 no.
like life will happen in the midst of all your training. It's like how can we get creative to continue on doing, your training gets you to achieve your goals while life is lifing, like while life
Yeah,
is still going on, we will make it work and we'll get creative however we need to.
I think that's a good way to put it. Yeah, you can't
Yeah.
stop when life gets tough because it's always going to be difficult at some point in time. You hear a lot of people, oh, it's too busy now, or this isn't a good time. I mean, life just gets busier, is what seems like it happens.
Well,
The
there's
way it
never a
is.
good time, right? It's like
Yeah,
you have to make it a priority, but like let me be there with you every step of the way and, like I'll help you figure out how to navigate, life or we'll adjust your schedule, your
yeah,
workouts as many times as we need to because I want to see everyone win. I want to see all my clients win. I want to see them do the best and achieve their goals and feel good about themselves. They don't have to win every race or do anything like that, but,
no.
like, I love the passion. When you see their passion, they're, like, so proud of themselves. You're like, "I am 10 times more proud of you. You have no idea."
Yeah, I think it helps that they can see what you've accomplished yourself and what you've pushed yourself to be able to do. So they know when they're talking to you or you're helping them through an issue like that, that carries a lot of weight.
I mean, that's why I do it. That's why I put myself out there on, social media. I show the good days, the bad days. Like, I'm pretty, just want to keep everything very real. They see the work that goes into all this. None of this happened overnight. I'm not some gifted athlete that, like ran, D1 in college. Like, I'm just a mom who like has a passion for running and just won't
Yeah.
quit. And
Yeah.
so it's been a lot of time but also making this a priority in my life.
Yeah, and for those people listening, definitely give Chris a follow on Instagram. I'll put it in the show notes. The stuff she does, uh, your your language choice and everything else is very different, but you give me a very David Goggins vibe when you talk about like how hard you push yourself and the type of mindset that you have where it's like I'm hurt, doesn't matter. Like it's still happening. I got to find a way. Um, I got to go swimming instead of running, but I have to do something. Like it's the same mindset. But I appreciate your restraint on the vocabulary. Can you tell us a little bit about that Barkley Marathon that you had mentioned?
Oh, okay. So the Barkley Marathon, it just happened actually. It's in Tennessee. And this guy created it. I don't even know how to describe it. It is the craziest marathon. No one finished it this year, if
Oh,
that will tell you anything.
yeah.
It's very mysterious in a way that there's like no sign up. You have to know someone that will tell you how to sign up for it.
So it's like the
Um,
speakeasy of marathons.
Yeah, that's totally it. There's documentaries about it. I don't know a specific name of anyone in particular, but I'm sure you can YouTube it.
Yeah.
Um, but it's like you don't know exactly when it's gonna start. So everyone like shows up and it's like when you hear the conch that it's gonna have start in within like 24 hours of that. And then
So
the
you're-
official start is when he like like lights a marble cigarette.
that's crazy. So
It's a
what's
100-mile race and you have to like find like your checkpoints are when you have to find these books and you have to tear the page out of the book for whatever your number is. It's it's so bizarre. Like I'm
that
just saying it is the craziest thing but it's so fascinating to me.
how far did you make it?
Oh, I didn't do it. I
Oh,
don't
you
even
didn't
know.
do it. Oh,
No, I didn't do it.
I
But
imagine
it would
that's
be
on the
amazing
bucket
to do
list
it.
at some point,
It
though.
is on the bucket list.
Wow. If you get invited, I need to hear about that. That sounds so cool.
I
Oh,
know, it would be crazy because you would be it's, doing some of it at night, headlamps, trying to find books. I don't know. Like it seems like a crazy, crazy adventure. Something
I
right up my
Yeah, I feel like this is it should be done on Halloween or something where it's all spooky and you got people jumping out of the woods at you and everything.
right. Totally.
That's I like that. So you were also talking about some opportunities that have opened up for you recently. Do you want to elaborate on any of those?
Yeah. So also in 2020, I co-founded a nonprofit called the 1 Mile Leadership Project. And so we wanted to bring together high achievers of all different industries, different areas of life, and because we found that there's like a similar mindset between all of us. And we found that there's a special connection between like former athletes, whether that is Olympians, pro players, that kind of thing, and military veterans, of needing to have some type of identity after that pro career or after the military. And so we wanted to bring those two types of people together to do an event or a race. And so we found Race Across America is a 3,072 mile bike race. We formed an 8-person co-ed team of people from all different industries to represent the 1 mile brand, what we were. And so it was amazing. Like it was such a life-changing experience of bringing people together that really didn't know each other, but were so humbled. These were all definitely very alpha personalities. These were Navy SEALs, they were former Olympians, they were former pro cyclists, all different people, but everyone put mission first. It was to you know, uh, keep our riders safe, first of all, and then to raise awareness for veteran mental health services. And so it was such a life-changing event for so many of us. We had a Gold Star wife on our team. The race course happened to go across her husband's Memorial Bridge.
Wow.
So talk about like a serendipitous moment.
Yeah.
So I just remembered telling her about the event and about the course. And, I'm like, yeah, we go through Mexican Hat, Utah. And she like paused and she's like, did you just say Mexican Hat, Utah? It's kind of a strange name. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. And she's like, that's where my husband's Memorial Bridge is. And so like having a moment where we like paused and like, like his brother was a police officer in the city. He gave us a police escort across the bridge.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
like 2 o'clock in the morning because this race doesn't stop until you get to the finish line.
Yeah.
And so it was a very special moment.
Yeah, that's a once in a lifetime moment. I imagine was
Yeah,
very incredible to
very incredible. And so yeah, this race, it's one person cycles at a time, and it's like we switch out our riders. It and I was a crew chief, so I talked to a lot of different crew chiefs on like how do we do this? How do we maximize our athletes' energy? Because this is a really long, long
Yeah.
race. And so what they found is like riding 20 minutes at a time is kind of like the most efficient way to get your cyclists from point A, through their shift without totally like taxing them out. And so yeah, it's crazy. You go through 12 different states, you go through all different kinds of climate. Going through Arizona, it was like 116 degrees, and then you're climbing, huge mountain passes in Colorado, and then you're going through Kansas, which is flat, but there's crazy crosswinds. So you just have to be prepared for everything and anything that could go wrong. Um, that was my job as crew chief, is to like, how do we do this? Like, how do we figure out all of these problems. Um, one of the major problems that we had is that our tour bus, which was like our moving headquarters that went across the country, broke down
Ugh.
before it even got to us in
Oh,
California.
really?
Yeah. And so they were sending us another bus, but it did not have it was not wrapped with our title sponsor's logo
Oh.
across that. So it was like dealing with those kind of problems,
Yeah,
like
that shouldn't even be an issue.
it shouldn't even you're like,
Yeah.
I didn't prepare for this. Like, what do we do?
How would you know?
You don't,
No,
right? You don't. But thankfully I had such a great team of people that rallied behind me in whatever decision that I made. And it was great. It was such like I said, such a changing experience. We are all friends to this day. I actually just saw one of my teammates a few days ago, even in California. So
that's awesome.
we
Yeah,
all are
it's impossible to go through something like that experience and not bond,
for
on some
sure.
level at least.
For sure. And so, with that, it ended up leading to doing the Navy SEAL swim across the Hudson. Um,
Wow. You are David Goggins in female
I
form, but tougher.
so that was 2 months after finishing RAM, and then I did Race Across America again in 2023 with a smaller four-person team, which meant less sleep, which is hard to believe because we don't get a lot of sleep in the first place.
If you're going, was it 20 minutes a clip? You were doing that time too?
Yeah, the cyclists were. So, but we were, changing out the bikes. It's trying to figure out where you can, do these bike exchange. There's a lot of rules because, obviously safety is number one. So there's a
Yeah.
60-page rule book. And as crew chief, it's my job to have every single rule memorized and make
Wow.
sure that my crew understands every single one of those rules. Um, the
That's a
first
big
day was
responsibility right there.
it is huge, and they
Yeah.
give you time penalties if you break the rules.
Which
So
is
it's like
on you. So that's,
which falls on me.
yeah.
Yeah. So that first day when we did RAM, like we got penalized a few times and I'm like, we're gonna get kicked out of this race on day one. I'm like, you guys, like this is the rule book. We have to follow the rules. Like
Yeah.
there's no skating around any of this. And so thankfully I was able to protest some of the infractions and we got some time back. But man, it was scary for a while.
That's tough. So it sounds like you are jumping into every sort of competition that you can. What's next? What are you doing
Um,
next?
I I am doing also a crew chief like leadership position for a ride around Wisconsin. This is not a race per se, it's more of a fundraising endeavor. Um, for Gold Star families to go to a summer camp that is in Wisconsin. Um, and it's a great I'm really excited for this one.
That sounds. Can
They
you
are we're
just?
gonna be making go ahead.
Sorry. Can you just quickly explain what Gold Star families are in case people
All
aren't
right, Gold
aware?
Star families are families that have lost a loved one who's a military member. So, it's a lot of kids that grew up without moms or dads because they were killed in action or by suicide or any of those things.
That's a huge thing that you're doing there. That's a very important thing.
It totally is. And so we're going to be making three community stops along the way in cities and helping raise awareness. We have speakers and live music, so it's going to be a great event. That'll be in September. And what
Is
else?
there, if listeners want to donate to something like that, is there a way they can do that?
Yeah, I can post my link,
Okay.
my
Yeah, yeah.
donation link
Send
on.
that to me, and that will be in the show notes as well. I want to make sure people have
Okay.
an opportunity to help out if they can.
Oh, that would be amazing. Yeah. They did a ride similar last year and had great success. They were able to raise $100,000 for this charity.
Oh,
And
that's
it's,
awesome.
when you get to hear the stories of how positively it has impacted these kids, you're just like, how can I help?
Yeah,
So it's pretty awesome.
that is awesome. That is really awesome. So can you tell us now about the Navy SEALs from? How's that for a transition so no one knows I messed up right before I said? Yes, Navy
um,
SEAL swim.
So I did the Navy SEAL swim across the Hudson in the summer of 2021. I was invited by one of my crewmates on for Race Across America, who is a Master Chief in the Navy SEALs. He was a fantastic mentor for me. along this race across America journey. And so I got invited to do this swim. Um,
So those master classes you took were really paying off then.
I had no idea that this is where it would lead me to.
That's great though.
So wow, what an experience this was. We started in New Jersey at Liberty Park with they had speakers, and then we did a lot of push-ups and pull-ups. So it was on the memorial of 9/11 and extortion 17, which was the deadliest day in Navy SEAL history. And so the push-ups and pull-ups that we were doing were in memory of all of those fallen on those days.
Oh, wow.
So we started with push-ups and pull-ups right out of the gate. And then we got like this is such a surreal moment. We get to the railing of the Hudson River, and they're like, "Okay, time to jump." And you're like,
Wait, what?
"Yeah, right." Um, and we had fins. No one wore wetsuits because these are like big tough guys that are doing this, and I was one of 6 women that were doing it.
Wow. This is
And so like
awesome.
literally like scale the railing and jump 15 feet into the water and start swimming.
Did anybody give you a heads up that that was going to be part of it?
You can't back out now, right? It's like you're
No,
training.
that was
You have to like
so mean.
um and so, the thing is like open water swimming is hard enough. Like I trained in a lake, but nothing can prepare you for a current if you've never swum in a current before. So that was a challenge. And they try to do the timing so that the current isn't, they're watching the tides. They're trying to time all of this right,
Yeah.
and so it was still really hard. Um, but I do remember having a moment where I was like literally at the feet of the Statue of Liberty. And I'm like, look up and I'm like, this is wild. Like,
That
this is my life. I am in the water of the Hudson River looking up at the Statue of Liberty from her feet, surrounded by Navy SEALs and patriots. And I'm like, I'm doing this right now.
that's awesome that you could take a second and realize how amazing and ridiculous that
Profound.
situation is.
Ridiculous. It was
Yeah.
ridiculous. Like this is what I'm doing. And so we would swim like a certain leg, and then we would get to a barge. And so you take your fins off, you put them in a basket, climb up the ladder onto this barge, and then it was doing 100 push-ups and 13 pull-ups again.
Wow.
And then you jump back into the water. It was like another 15-foot drop into the water, swim to the next barge. So it was a total of a 3-mile swim.
That's a lot. If
Um,
people haven't done a swim before, that's a long swim.
that's a
Yes,
long,
that's a
long swim.
very long swim.
And so, even though the swim was in August, it's still, you get cold when you're in the water and then getting in and out of the water. And
Yeah.
so I started developing hypothermia after when I got to the second barge.
Oh,
And I just couldn't stop like chattering. Like I was like violently chattering. I felt fine. Like I was like laughing because I'm
yeah.
like this ridiculous. And they were giving me like the Mylar blankets to try to warm up. And I just couldn't warm up. Like I was just so cold. And I still had another mile swim to get to the other side, to the New York side. And so I had to make a decision
I have
what
a
I was
feeling
gonna
I know
do.
what the decision was that you made.
It was the decision. No, I was actually smart for once and
Good.
decided
Not
to
that I was
follow.
implying you weren't smart, but I've noticed a theme with you.
For once, I made a good decision in
That's
my life
good.
and
That's
decided
good.
not to continue on.
Okay.
Um, which was actually really funny in the end because I had to get off this barge, I had to climb over like 3 other boats, and, they're helping me, but, like, I had to
Yeah.
go onto the firefighter boat, and they took me to shore where there was an ambulance waiting, and, like, granted, like, I felt fine, I was just cold, like, and so I sat in an ambulance, they cranked up the heat in there, and I'm like, I just wanna go back, like, I'm
Well,
fine.
hypothermia is pretty serious, you know, you can't
It
really I don't know who gave you the choice too, they shoulda yanked you out of there if you had it.
is.
That's bad, but I'm obviously glad you made that choice, I think that was the right call. I get why it would be tough though, because 'cause you're there and you wanna finish.
Yeah, continue on.
Yeah.
So a funny part of the story was, like, I really had to go to the bathroom. Like, we had been out there for a long time, and I didn't have any shoes. We were swimming with fins on, and all I had was my swimsuit, and literally a guy gave me the shirt off his back when we were on the barge, like a t-shirt. And so that's all I have, and I'm like so the EMTs gave me a pair of yellow hospital socks, and here we are walking in downtown Manhattan,
Oh my
trying to walk to a bathroom, like, in an office building.
Well, maybe if you had, some of the Navy SEALs come along with you, nobody would have said anything and
No one would
yeah.
have said a word. Um, so anyways, I get back from there, I'm like, "You guys, I totally feel fine." And, I had a friend with me, and he's like, they're just getting out of the water now." He's like, "We can still meet up with them." And I'm like, "Yeah, I wanna do it." I'm like, "Of course I wanna do it." And so we do this flag run, from Manhattan to the 9/11 memorial, and then they
Oh,
had, it was such a powerful moment. We all
yeah.
placed flags around the perimeter, and more push-ups and pull-ups, and then some amazing speeches, and it was a very, very powerful moment. So I'm glad that I got to jump back in and finish it.
That's awesome. That actually, the way I found you was, we had Kevin Stark on the show, who's a Navy SEAL,
Yeah.
and I saw looking through like, the connections that he has had, I saw you and I was like, oh, she's a tough one. I gotta reach out to her.
I
Um,
have not met Kevin in person yet, so, but I've heard stories about him.
Yeah, we had him on the show, and it was such an awesome conversation. Kind of like with you, it was just somebody with that mindset. Um, but it was I can't imagine running to the memorial and seeing that image with the flags everywhere and who you're with. Um, that
I
you've
mean,
had a
'cause that
lot
was
of
the day that
powerful.
their lives changed dramatically too, and you think about it, like, that's the day a lot of those guys went to war for the first time,
Oh, that's
you know?
true. I didn't even think about that piece of it.
And there was a lot of retired guys too, but think about just, the impact and the lives that were lost that they knew,
Yeah.
like, it was a very, very, moving moment, for me,
It
for
sounds
sure.
like you've had a lot of those experiences with what you've been able to do. Um,
I think it's also having those moments where you just sit and reflect, on how profound the moment is and not just let it escape. Not get too busy and everything, and also once it's done to reflect on how awesome and profound it was. Um, I know when I finished Race Across America the first time, my co-founder wanted to start planning a second team right after, and I'm like, "I'm not ready."
yeah,
Like, this was too amazing for me to just move right on to something new. Like, I need time to take this all in, um, and, like, make it a core memory, I think.
I think that's an incredibly important thing you said right there, and a lot of people kind of just go day by day, 2 weeks, a month goes past, and you haven't even stopped to think once, and it happens to everybody. You get stuck in the routine and in the monotony of life, but when you can sit and reflect on it can be anything. It doesn't have to be, swimming with the Navy SEALs and standing and being below the Statue of Liberty. There's so many of those moments in life that come about, and it can be something simple too, just a brief interaction you had with a stranger that, it had an effect on you, and just reflecting on that, I think is huge.
I mean, I've been on trail runs where I've stopped my run and have just paused and, like, almost in tears of, like, how beautiful this world is all around me and how blessed I am, how grateful. I think gratitude is such a huge thing, and I'm not, like, stop and enjoy it and take it all in, because it's so it can be so fleeting.
Yeah.
Um, before I feel like I've lived 10 lives,
It sounds
but
like you've
before all
lived
of the
10 lives.
craziness, um, I worked in a hospital. I'm a nurse practitioner. I've worked in neuro intensive care. I've seen people at their worst moments of their life. I've had to give the news to families, that has changed their lives forever. My life has been changed because of that. I take all of that with me, in everything that I do. And, like I said, living a life of gratitude for everything that I have, everything that I've accomplished, and just once again seeing how fleeting and how precious life really is.
I, I I can't think of a better way to end the show than that sentiment right there. And we've kept you for a while, but that's 100% right on the money there. You've got to take a few minutes every now and then and just appreciate everything, because nothing goes perfectly, and you can find the negative in the bad in any situation, but you can also find the good, and you can find the positive and the silver lining, and even the wonderful stuff too. And just being able to stop and appreciate it is huge. So, Kris, on that note, I appreciate you coming on and taking the time with us. I really sincerely do. I can't believe all that you've done and accomplished, and it sounds like this is the beginning, and you've got a long way to go.
Well, thank you so much, Derek. It's been such a wild ride. It's so fun to talk about. So, just keep saying yes to those big scary things, and be grateful for all of it.
I love that. Keep saying yes. We got to keep doing that. Keep saying, I'm writing that down too. So how can people reach out to you? What's the best way to do that?
Instagram is probably the easiest way to reach out to me. It's Kris Bachman. Um, yeah, I'm pretty active on there, so reach out.
All right, I will put that in the show notes, for sure. And honestly, though, everybody give Kris a follow and reach out. She is really truly an amazing person. So, there's a ton that you can take from seeing what she goes through, and maybe you can share some of the crazy stuff you're doing with her. I'm sure she'd love to see it.
Please
So,
do.
all right. Well, thank you guys, everybody. If you enjoyed the show, please like and follow and do all the stuff you know you're supposed to do to support the show. So, thank you all again, and thank you, Kris, so much.
Thanks, Derek.